Hi, welcome everybody. As always, my name is Janessa Rivera, the Deputy Director with Concilio, and we are here with the 10th episode of Socially Connected. And as you know, every month we have a theme. And this theme in the month's theme is Immigration Heritage Month. June is Immigrant Heritage Month in the United States. Immigrant Heritage Month is an initiative that was put forward by the I Am an Immigrant Foundation. And it really seeks just to celebrate the heritage of immigrants and an immigrant nation and highlight the important contributions that the immigrant heritage and immigrants have contributed to our economy, our culture, and common identity from all around the world. So, every month we pick something that we want to highlight that we think is really important and key to us. And as you guys know, Concilio, we have such a strong background in the community, and we will be turning 60 years old in 2022. And a little background about us and why Immigrant Heritage Month is so important to us is, we are one of the oldest Latino organizations in Philadelphia, and we are known and we're extremely proud to have a well-established reputation for providing culturally relevant family support and child welfare services, as well as education on different cultures and expanding our knowledge in the community about Latino cultures. So originally, the agency Concilio was founded to recognize and voice the needs of Philadelphia's Puerto Rican and other Latino communities. And our core value is to continue to improve the quality of life in our community. And we do this by meeting with local government, community agencies, educational institutions, and different private sectors and private organizations. But most importantly, what we want to do is make sure to stay true to our mission and vision, which is making sure to be the pillar and the voice for the community, the Latino community. So, of course, celebrating Immigrant Heritage Month is just key in what our background and our mission is. And that is why you see, on the other side, my guest here, right? So it is just me today as a Concilio representative, but I have a lovely guest. And with us, we have Amy Eusebio. She is the executive director of the city's Office of Immigrant Affairs. So everybody, please welcome Amy. Right, so a little round of applause. Hey, Amy.
Thank you.
And so tell us, about yourself, your role, the city. And let's kick it off with how long have you been with the city and how long have you been in office in this role?
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much, Janessa and Concilio, for inviting me today and for being a partner with our office for Immigrant Heritage Month. We get excited every June to be able to take it as an opportunity to tell our stories, our people's stories. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. So I'm Amy Eusebio. I'm the director of the office. I've been in the role now going on 2 years. Right before coming into the Office of Immigrant Affairs, I had been with the city for a year to launch actually one of our exciting programs, the City ID program, PHL City ID, which offers a low-cost photo ID, like a low-barrier, low-cost photo ID for anyone living in Philadelphia. There's a lot of reasons why people can't get a state ID, and the City ID becomes, one of the it's something I'm proud that Philadelphia is able to offer to its residents. And I'm humbled that I was selected to be the director of that program and to help that launch. But before that, I used to be a volunteer with Concilio. I worked at Congreso for many, many years. An alumni of Esperanza's Promotora programs.
Wow, a true community face, right? A true community figure.
Yep. Yeah, I've been stomping around these grounds for a minute now. So glad to bring all of that history, perspective, experience, and bring it into the city to give a fresh set of eyes for how the city thinks about its work.
No, for sure. That's amazing. That sounds great, right? It's great when you can see the beginning of the wheel and how it comes all the way around full circle and then back around. As we know, we have to always backtrack, go around, and make sure we continue to fill in the gaps, right? So you told us a little bit about yourself. Now tell us about the program and the department within the city and what the city is doing, what the city has been doing, and what the city plans on doing to continue to educate us about the immigrant community.
Absolutely. So, so the office that I lead, the Office of Immigrant Affairs, is now officially a permanent city office. It became permanent in 2019, thanks to the residents of Philadelphia voting for it in the city charter. So now, no matter who's mayor, the office will always be around, and I'm honored to be the first director of the office after becoming permanent. So our mission is to promote the well-being of Philadelphia's immigrant communities. And we do that by focusing on policies and programs. The other thing I like to say about our office is that we are charged with ensuring the inclusion of immigrants into the city's civic, economic, and cultural life. So I think of us as kind of like the advocates on the inside. We are your people on the inside, advocating for immigrant inclusion at all levels of the city government. So what does that mean? What does that look like? So what's sometimes confusing for folks is we're not a direct service office. So it's not like you can, walk in and we're not, I am trained as a social worker, but I'm not functioning in the role of a social worker in the city. So it's not like we have case management. It's not that we have attorneys. Though sometimes people do call our office to seek where they can go. And so we do maintain a database of organizations where people can get legal services, or people ask about like ESL classes or citizenship. And so that we do, help people, connect to where they need to go with other community-based organizations, but also when they have questions about city services. So we also do some light connecting to other resources. But really our main work is really policies and programs. And so what that's looked like over time is historically we've worked on 3 categories: policies and programs, including language access. So our office, we are the ones that manage the city's contracts for language access, and we support other city departments in being language accessible. And so we want to know when you're having a hard time receiving city services in your language. I like to remind people that you have a right in Philadelphia to receive a city service in your language. And you should ask for what you need when you go to a city department, and they are prepared. They have contracts available that help them make sure that they could do that for you. So that's one example of a program area that we support. The other category we've done before is economic development, and we continue to do some work in that area. We used to run a program called Immigrant Workers Academy pre-pandemic. We're currently taking a look at how to bring that online and to offer like little videos to people to let them know what their rights are as workers in Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, we have a lot of laws that protect people who work in Philadelphia. Again, no matter their immigration status, we are a welcoming city, a very proud welcoming city. And that what that means is that we ensure opportunities and rights and protections for folks in our community. So that's economic development. And then the last bucket that we talk about a lot is year-round cultural programming, of which June, Immigrant Heritage Month, becomes part of that. So actually, I'm going to give a shout out to Concilio for helping us find, we had a great group of dancers. The Palante Dance Company came and performed at our kickoff for Immigrant Heritage Month, and they were so awesome. They were so awesome. And they were so proud of themselves too. And that felt really good for me to give them that platform, that opportunity to celebrate culture, showcase their talent. And it was like the beginning of like people opening up, right, and coming outside. And, it was just really, really great for the kids to come out and show their stuff. So that's in a nutshell, some of our work, but there's so much more in each of those areas that we work on.
So you mentioned, even though you guys have so many areas and so many things that you work on, it often is a misconception that you guys do not provide the direct services, right? And you're just like a hub of referral and linkages and advocacy and how to do things behind closed doors to get the bigger picture kind of across.
Yep.
So I'm sure you guys constantly have people coming up to you when you build those relationships to say, we need the direct services. So I'm sure you guys know who does provide the direct services. Could you tell us some of the agencies in the area that do provide the direct services for the immigrant community that you guys work with often, or that other people may not know about because they automatically assume you provide the services?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the programs that I'm really proud that our office supports is something called universal representation, which is just a fancy word for saying that anybody facing deportation should have a right to an attorney. And so there's a collaborative in Philadelphia, well, in Pennsylvania, called the Pennsylvania Immigrant Family Unity Project. They go by PIFIP. And so they're a collective of legal service organizations and community-based organizations that help people navigate what they need if they're facing detention and deportation. So some of the groups locally that are involved in that work are Nationality Service Center, Juntos, I believe Viet Lead is also involved, Highest Pennsylvania, Milpa is another one, Movimiento de Migrantes, Latinos in Pennsylvania. It's easier to remember people's acronyms than it is like what their letters mean, but Milpa is involved too. And we're incredibly proud to be able to support that work. And actually, I want to here also give a shout out to the advocacy from those community-based organizations to put pressure on the city to continue to fund the program. So this is the fiscal year 22 that's about to begin July 1st is the third year that the city of Philadelphia is putting money into the pot for this program, which is a big deal. A lot of cities, huge. A lot of cities don't put their own money in to help make sure that people have an attorney if they're gonna be in immigration court facing deportation, right? Like we're talking about family separation, we're talking about communities being destabilized, breadwinners being, losing their jobs, not being able to care for their kids.
Yeah, everything we've been seeing in the world news for, the last few years, all of those things.
Absolutely. So that's one group. And every year the city has increased its commitment. It went from 100,000 to 200,000. And as of earlier today, council, voted on the final vote on the city budget. And so there's going to be $300,000 that the city is allocating.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And, working in nonprofit and always, nickel and diming the dollars that are coming in, it's a little bit of a twofold because as you mentioned, you need trailblazers to be out there advocating, saying we need money and we need more money. But then we also need the community to use these sources and resources because if they don't, then the policymakers or the powers that be that are able to say yay or nay to the dollars will say, hey, these dollars were unspent. You gave all the advocacy, you gave me all the background saying that you need it, but the community didn't use it for whatever reason. And, if the community is not using it to their advantage, if they're not well aware of their rights, and if they're not educated on what's available out there to them, or they're just not simply using it, eventually the advocators and whatever they're saying are going to fall upon deaf ears, and the money's going to start going backwards, decreasing until it dries up. So it's a twofold. We need the advocators, but we also need the community to trust that the advocators are doing what's best for them and actually using these resources. So we have a question from Adonis that says, can you talk about the fear immigrants may have for accessing resources because they think they may get deported? Kind of like something I'm just mentioning right now. The money is there. We advocate for them to get the money and say the resources are there. And then the community freezes up and they don't use it and we may lose it. So can you talk about the fear that some of our members in the community may have? Because, there is that stigma.
No, there is. And actually, this office, even before I was in the role, the previous director, Miriam Enriquez, she also was another trailblazer, an amazing leader. Philadelphia was involved in advocacy against something called public charge. So what that is people who are here on maybe like a visa status and are trying to become a resident, or a resident working on becoming a citizen, the person who's reviewing your application has discretion on on seeing if they think you're going to be a public charge. Are you going to become reliant or dependent on the United States in order to survive and get by? Under our previous president, Trump, that definition of public charge got expanded, which then created a lot of fear, worse than it ever was before. And we saw that people were less likely to receive services from the city or from community-based organizations because they were worried it was going to count against them if they wanted to, work on their, status down the line. So what does that look like? What it meant for, especially this whole last year with the COVID pandemic, it meant that we had to do like 20 times more to get the word out about everything and to have to let people know it, this is what the law currently says, and no, this won't count against you. And no, this program doesn't require social security numbers. This one isn't going to ask you about your status and different things like that, so that people would have a better understanding about what they qualified for, what was safe to access, what was a city program versus a federal program that might have different kind of policies with it, different laws. And so it was a lot. I remember last year getting a lot of questions. So again, like this thing of like us as advocates on the inside, last year was bananas. We were getting questions from all different community groups asking about like, okay, the testing, is it going to ask people this, and that? And we're like, let me get back to you. Health department colleagues, are you guys asking these questions? And they're like, no, it doesn't matter status. It doesn't matter language. It doesn't. So I'm like, okay, you got to say that. And the mayor has to say that at every press conference, and all the paperwork we got to put that message out. And then my office would send it out to the community-based organizations working with, people on the ground to make sure people had accurate information. But it's real. I mean, I remember one of our partners from La Puerta Abierta, who offers mental health services to people regardless of ability, regardless of status. I remember in talking with them and them sharing some of the stories of people who didn't even want to get on the food lines for the free food boxes that the city was offering because they were worried that somehow or ICE was going to come pick them up, or I don't know, that somehow their information would be found. And there were people that said, I'd rather go hungry than stand outside on a line to get food. And so part of what my office was able to do was connect La Puerta Abierta and a couple other groups with other funders who are looking to find other models to support immigrant communities who are afraid of that. And so thankfully we were able to connect them and another group in the Northeast of Brazilian mothers who were volunteering and using their own money from their own pockets, by the way, to put together boxes. Yeah, it was an amazing.
Leave it to a mom to nurture the community. Leave it to the mom to put the world on their back.
They put those ladies put the world on their back, and it was incredible. And because of all the work that they were doing, I was like, I gotta find you somebody. And so I was able to connect them with a funder that was like, we're looking for groups to support. And I'm like, these people are doing things out of pocket and could really use, your support. And so they got some funding and they got some fresh food, like nice things like fresh fruits and veggies and different eggs and milk. And they were able to bring it to people because people were that scared of going to a physical food bank, and these two groups were doing home deliveries.
So kind of using them like buffers, right? And like security blankets and being like a safe liaison. One of the questions originally that I was going to ask you was about the biggest misconceptions, which I feel like you kind of went over right now, regarding what needs to be further educated, which is, the stigmas. But outside of some of these misconceptions, what do you see from your role, your seat in? What do you see as one of the biggest actual needs, right? So like the community has so many different needs.
Right.
What would you say from your viewpoint, or perhaps it changed? Perhaps, I like to say BC, before COVID, before, maybe BC, it was something else. And now you see that the community has new needs. What are the biggest needs, whether for the community or need for a further education in regards to the community?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So before COVID and still now, I'd say there's a real gap in availability of legal services. So something that's really big, especially in our Latino communities, but I'm learning it happens in across all different, right? We have a very diverse immigrant community here in Philadelphia. There's over 232,000 immigrants in Philadelphia, which is about 15% of the population, but we're talking about all different countries. And so, among that, of course, Latino community represents a big proportion. But one thing that we see a lot in our communities is notario fraud, right? Immigration services fraud.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. And so what that is people being told by an entity that's not qualified to give legal advice, being told like, oh, ven acá, que yo te ayudo con tus papeles, someone who's offering you this service. And maybe this person is well-intentioned. Mm-hmm. And some of them are well-intentioned and maybe don't know, right, the laws here in the U.S., right? You've got to be an attorney or an accredited.
Right. Because it's different. Every country's different. Things are different, Right.
Yeah, because in some of our countries, a notario or un licenciado is qualified, right, to like fill out legal paperwork for you. But here in the U.S., that's not the case. Here in the U.S., you should be an attorney or you should be accredited through the Department of Justice to be able to give legal advice and help with immigration paperwork. So our people get taken advantage of a lot. And so that I feel like is a big need. BC, I'm going to start using that, Janessa.
Yes, girl.
BC. BC, that was a big issue. And I think it still is. Like, as we continue to advocate for more pathways to citizenship for people, I think it's going to continue to be confusing. We have a very confusing immigration legal system here in this country. And so people get desperate and people pay money. And, si alguien le hace una promesa y le dice, oh, I know how to get you the Biden papers. There are no Biden papers. There's not currently, but people are being told these things. And so it's important for people to be able to get information from credited places, from trusted sources.
They're uneducated and, they just want to live what they consider a normal, safe life. And they go to whomever they feel comfortable with. And, culturally, it's not uncommon that we build bonds and relationships with people and, we just trust them. I'm very excited to have people like you and those Brazilian moms and the other people that come in. You mentioning that legal representation is a need, right? For anyone that's watching that may be a lawyer or may be a professional in that field or may have someone that's a professional in that field, if someone is willing to provide in-kind help or in-kind donations or provide free legal services, who can they contact? Is that something that you would want them to reach out to you so that you can set that up as a clinic or something? Let us know, the people that we know out there that are interested in doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. If there are any, attorneys watching, please do email me. My email's on the screen, amy.eusebio@phila.gov. So please contact me. Our office has historically coordinated with other other partners across the city to do something called Take Action Philadelphia. 5 years ago, again, under more xenophobic policies, right, where immigrants were actively being attacked every single day, honestly, by the previous, administration. This organized, people were reaching out to our office asking, how can I help? What can I do? It started with like the Muslim ban and then other policies as they were being passed. But we are looking to revisit finding more opportunities for people to continue to plug in, because hopefully we do get Pathway to Citizenship soon. If people continue advocating, reaching out to their, elected officials, tell them what you want to see, ask them to vote in favor of, in your, best interest. But people, it's going to be confusing. I know people will get excited and it's going to be confusing. And I don't want folks to get misled and being served by people who are not equipped to serve them.
Well, thank you for that. We are almost time to wrap up, but what I do want to ask before I start wrapping it up is, do you have any, to really like put the nail in the coffin, Alabama Slammer, do you have any really good, like one maybe that it stands out, a success story of maybe a family you all have helped or that has come in through the doors of the department or the program, or just someone that you guys have worked with informally or did linkages? They came to you and after, being referred or linked, they started here, now they're there, and they're in such a better place?
Oh, let's see. Let me think of one. I shared the Brazilian mama story, which is one of my favorites from this last year. I think I'll share this. Last year I was able to work on what was called the Philadelphia Worker Relief Fund, which was very powerful. So while everyone else was getting stimulus checks, people who filed their taxes with ITINs and not with the Social Security number were not able to get any of that. They were not getting any stimulus checks. And I was really, really proud that Philadelphia and the philanthropy community here in Philadelphia too stepped up and said presente, and money was raised, and we were able to give $800 of cash assistance to almost 2,000 families that didn't get, that were left out of state and federal aid.
Wow, that's a significant number. I think one of the facts, Snapple facts that was put on our screen was that Philadelphia has 232,000 immigrants. So 2,000 of that, I mean, that's a significant number with just, your own, advocacies and battling together and say, hey, we got to make this right, without like a bigger force behind you. That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm really proud of that work. It's a drop in the bucket because actually our undocumented community in Philly is something like 50,000, and even that's an old number. So it felt like a drop in the bucket compared to the full need, but that's 2,000 more people who got something that they wouldn't have gotten before.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for giving us all of this information, all of this knowledge for everybody. On the back end, I was saying, I'm sure Amy could give us 2, 3, 4 hours of information here. And us, we like to make it quick, but we like to make it so quick that you get so interested that you have a chance to follow up and email the person, email the speaker, and go follow their social media and look at their handle and go to the page and see what's going on and go to the event. Right? So that there is a vested interest, and then you can have these additional conversations, which are long-lasting conversations that go way beyond the 30 minutes here at Socially Connected. We just want to plant the seed in our community. So thank you so much, Amy. We appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate your wealth of knowledge. And we know that there aren't enough thanks for you, the city, and the communities that are working side by side with you to make sure that we are feeling safe and we are getting the treatment that we deserve. Thank you so much. For the rest of us here, I always like to wrap up and talk about what is next with Concilio. So what is next with Concilio is we have summer programming. So say bye-bye to the virtual world and hello to in-person programming. And I cannot be more excited for the youth that we serve, because I know they are tired of looking at us through the screens. So summer programming will start at Concilio and some of our designated locations throughout the city. Monday, June 28th, we do have some open slots still available. So parents and guardians, aunts, uncles, and cousins, if you have any youth that attend Hopkinson elementary or middle school age students, please reach out to us. If you have any students that attend Deep Roots Charter Elementary, please reach out to us. If you are a high school student in the area from 9th to 12th grade, please reach out to us, and we have slots available for you. There is our phone number there. Also, we have the Cultural Summer Series that's kicking off. I know there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of buzz, and people are like, what's going on with Concilio? Are we going to do XYZ? Well, we have our first annual charity golf event kicking off next month in a couple of weeks, July 14th at Juniata Golf Course, and we will be doing that for the first time. So we're very excited about that. We will be having, instead of our 2-day fiesta at Penn's Landing, we will have a smaller event, a 1-day event at the Spruce Street Harbor Park over there in the Penn's Landing area. So that will be in September, the 25th of September. And save the date, tentatively, keep our fingers crossed. We are planning on having the Puerto Rican Parade back live in action. We are planning it for it to be Sunday, the 26th. Okay. So we will give official notice when everything is squared away. We are planning on making a big weekend for the closeout of Hispanic Heritage Month. So we would love to kick it off with the 1-day event at Spruce Street Harbor on the 25th, and then the Puerto Rican Parade on the 26th. We will give you guys additional updates as it comes closer. And as always, we always will have our next episode, episode 11, Thursday, July 29th, because we always meet the last Thursday of the month from 6 to 6:30. So thank you so much for joining in. Bye, guys. See you next month.